following Severino and Miller, we have a rain barrel. We have a rain barrel giveaway closer to home down at NIFAC, Cross Bay Boulevard. That is April 30th. So I mean, if you want to wait, so that would be good. And they're great. I have one. It's 55-gallon drum. Hooks into the leader. It's got a cover so no mosquitoes. It's got a little spigot at the bottom. You want to see water run slow. Yeah, it runs really slow. I usually open the top and dip in like that. So, anyway. Happy St. Patrick's Day, belated Happy St. Patrick's Day, and Happy St. Joseph's Day from Joseph Adavo's office. The senator met with DOT Commissioner Trottenberg and Garcia this past week, I believe. Last Friday, a week ago yesterday. SBS is still in flux. Nothing is. They're explaining to the senator how the money was being allocated. They had all this money. It isn't just SBS here. There's a number of plans across the city, across Queens. Nothing's been chiseled in stone. So this thing is still in flux, and we still have the ability to apply pressure, and hopefully, get the plan. Listen, he's laughing. I can't do this job if I'm not an optimist. $400 million is the total bunch of money
for now.
that they have for now.
But originally it was 200.
Right, and it had to be spent yesterday. And I mean, I would
227. Now it's 400. That's a big difference.
It's my guess.
Planning
We pushed this to 2018. I can't. I don't have that detail.
This is our March Madness bracket, by the way.
Yeah, which I have. All of my final four are gone. And it's just the third day. But we still have. When you hear about these meetings, these public meetings, they're gonna start them again. We have to turn out. We have to show up. We have to let them know that we cannot have people boarding buses in the middle of Woodhaven Boulevard. It doesn't make sense. Children, senior citizens, nobody. You can't cross 2 lanes of traffic to get on a bus. It doesn't make sense. And we have to keep saying it until somebody listens. So it's like I said, it's not in stone. We still have an opportunity to alter this. Joe?
Yeah, it's just because, especially during the winter time with all the snow, how are you gonna? I mean, you have trouble crossing the street.
Guaranteed, yeah, and they didn't shovel the bus stops they have now.
Right.
2 days after, now granted it was a Saturday, but the following Tuesday they still weren't shoveled. So. Except for that one kid. I mean, we wouldn't have, and he didn't
even get paid for it.
He didn't get paid for it, So anyway, Mike and Severino and Officer Severino took all the good stuff. So.
Two short questions. First off, as far as the rain barrels go, do you have to reserve one, or is it just go and pick one up?
You're better off of reserving.
Okay.
Because there was all of a sudden. I mean, we've been surprised a couple of times. We've had these things, and nobody's going to show up, and then people do.
We have to show up, I'm sorry, I didn't get that, Nyack Park?
NIFAC, New York Families for with Autistic Children down on Cross Bay Boulevard.
Oh, okay.
Their office down there. That's
Where
right.
it is.
That is, I may put on my glasses. The 30th of April will go from 10 to 2. I have here, I can call Mike's office, but I mean, that can't be right. Call Adavo's office. 738-1111. 738-1111. That's the April 30th here in Howard Beach. I guess that's the closest, right? That's closer than Ridgewood.
The other question I had, Neil. I'm not going to let you get away. As far as the SBS thing that Joe went and spoke to them about, they say they're still going through with it. They actually put a dollar sign on it, but we haven't seen the details of any kind of a plan.
They're on that.
Well, how can they put a dollar value on it?
because a lot of this is what they're talking about is the kind of federal money that they're generating through applications and stuff like that. You know, and that's a guess, I guess.
But you know, a lot, I mean, we know to a good idea what they wanted to hear from the original designs, but for down Cross Bay Boulevard, for instance, that's an open book there. We don't know what they're gonna try to do down there. And I think the people over there have a right to know.
And this is, and the confusion and the lack of answers is an opportunity. You know, this is our opportunity, since nobody can actually say for sure. And you talked to it, so does it have to be like that? No, not really. You know. We keep putting pressure on them, and we can tailor this thing as best we can.
I have a question because I'm really interested in seeing who are the really pro-SBS people. Yesterday I met someone from the Writers Alliance in Manhattan. She went on and on about how great SBS is. So I asked her a question. I go, I live in Woodhaven. I go, where do you live? Oh, I live in St. Albans. We're fighting for SBS. I go, why do you, if you live in St. Albans, why do you care what happens through, like, you're such a huge proponent for SBS and down Woodhaven Boulevard and Prospect Boulevard, why do you care so much if you live in St. Albans? So who are these people? Because it's not, they're not townies, obviously. There's no one from Howard Beach, not that I've ever come across, or no one from Woodhaven or Glendale. It's always people that are outside of Queens or outside of our neighborhood that come in and say, you guys need a bus lane, and we're going to make it happen for you. Well, thanks, but we didn't ask for that. You know, so where do these people live? Huh? I ran into in Harlem. It was one from the Writers Alliance. Yeah, I work in Harlem, but she was from the Writers Alliance, and she went on and on about how great the work we do to help volunteer to raise awareness and transportation opportunities and the whole SBS line down. She mentioned she works strongly for SBS here in our neighborhood.
If I may, that surprises me because the Writers Alliance was one of the groups from the very first meeting that we had, you know, over 2 years ago now, to oppose the buses.
That's not what I've come across on Twitter. Because every time I post anything anti-SBS on Twitter, I'm getting attacked by 15 different people. If you look at them, they don't even live in Queens.
I think it's something
No, that's what I'm saying. This was all local. This was
Okay.
all starting in Rockaway and going all the way to Rideau Park. Every community was represented and everyone was.
Mike, you have something you want to add?
Yeah, you know, I met with Riders Alliance last week. I didn't have one set up. I was meeting with somebody else. They were there, you know, lobbying other people. So I stopped and said, oh, Riders Alliance. We talked about the issues at hand. They didn't want to hear it. We talked about the fact that electives in the community, I think, chose a different plan. The person that was there, who was in charge for that day, responded, well, we didn't like that plan. We liked the plan that they had put in. And it seemed to me that, like, they're driving the bus, and they're pushing what they want, okay? And I think we really, you know, we pushed back, right, with getting names and stuff, but I think we really have to keep it up. You know, I do it on our end, the Senate does it on his end, but we really have to keep it up in the press and
we are.
rallies and things like that.
Everyone, as you can see, there's copies of this petition on your table. If you haven't filled one out, please do so if you're against it. And again, we're not against positive change on our boulevard or on our communities. We're against what they're proposing right now. You know, something that was proposed over a year ago, year and a half ago, saying that it's going to be $250 million, you know, of federal and state funding. And, you know, now we're ballooning up to something like $400 million that's going to take, which again, there's no solid numbers, there's no solid dates, how long it's going to take, you know, how this is really going to affect our community, which is the reason why we're not going to accept something like this being shoved down our throats because you have money to spend.
They're adamant that they want the main road and they want, you know, one lane in the main road. You could have the whole service road. I don't think, you know, I think it'd be less objectionable to the people in the community, you know, and they can embrace it better. No, we want that main road.
You know, and it's great to have advocates for something, groups to fight for a cause. But they have to make sure that they have people that are part of that organization that are from the community. You know, the point being brought up in the back, someone from St. Albans can't tell me how good of a service like that can be for Woodhaven Boulevard if they're not from Woodhaven. You know, they can't tell me that. They know every winter for the past 4 or 5 years we fight with the DOT and the MTA to clear these crosswalks because people can't cross the boulevard. So now you want to put us in the middle of a boulevard to catch a bus, where cars are speeding, where there's tons of traffic, where traffic is backed up already because of a study that was done. You know, so now you're going to take away a lane. And the fantasy dream that they have that I'm gonna park my car, and I'm saying myself because I drive to my train so I can get into the city. Thinking that I'm gonna park a car to get onto a bus, to get onto a train, that's not gonna happen. That's a fantasy that they want, that everyone, you get rid of your car and get on a bus. And my personal opinion, that's so that the MTA can get more money out of our pockets and we're still gonna get crappy service. You know, but at the end of the day, nothing should be forced down the community's throats when you have X amount of people from the community saying that this is not what we want. With no disrespect to any elected officials who are pushing for SBS, you know, who also some of them who are not from our community, who are saying that we need to educate ourselves better. I invite them to our meetings then and say, come and educate us. Because based off of the information that you put out already, it's already shown that, you know, you're wrong. Your budget now has doubled, your time frame has tripled, you know, everything that you proposed in the beginning is not gonna work. And some of the ideas that are being proposed by people by our community, by elected officials from our community, sounds much better than what you're proposing, the city's proposing. So, you know, personally I feel it's the old, well, this is my job, I know what I'm doing. The problem is, from experience, we all know that we have some people that can't think out of the box. And this is what they need to do for this project. Again, we told MTA, we spoke to DOT, to Riders Alliance, you know, what works in one community is not gonna necessarily work in another community. Everything's different, you know, and again, this petition is not saying that we're fighting change. We love change in Woodhaven, it's gonna happen anyway, right? But we need to make sure it's the change that's gonna work for us, we have to live here. And anything that the city, state, or the Fed implements, it's not gonna be changed with a flick of a switch. Now we have to find another $400, $500, $600 million to change it to what's gonna work for our community. You know, we talk about response times for the NYPD. What's gonna happen if Woodhaven Boulevard is backed up and they can't get around our communities now because we lost the lane to traffic? You know, questions came up with the buses on their own dedicated lane. There was an ambulance behind the bus on Woodhaven Boulevard with the sirens blaring for the bus to go through the light. He wouldn't go. So traffic on the other lane had to eventually get through enough to where the ambulance can go around the bus and then go to their call. That's not what we want here. That's ludicrous. That's crazy. You know, and then we want tractor trailers going through our sidewalks. You know, so we're going to have to lose parking now so these trailers can park. Just like anything else, you change a traffic pattern, you're going to get regular drivers who know the sidewalks, they're going to start taking all the side streets. Now you can't have your kids playing in front of your house because you have to worry about a car jumping the curb. You know, what's the big push for this change and to spend this money? So I just ask everyone, please make sure that if you're behind this, you have to sign this petition. You have to come to our meetings. You have to come to the open houses that they have. Share your opinions, your ideas, and let them know this isn't what we want. And if we don't want it, we're not going to support it. We're going to continue to fight.
Well, two things. Firstly, as far as the bus number, as someone who used to work for transit and as a wife of a bus driver, if that bus driver had pulled that bus out and there had been an accident, that's his job. They're out. No ifs, ands, and buts.
I get it, but these are the questions we've asked them. What happens in those situations? And we can't even get answers. But he was the first man, and I get it. But again, imagine if there's a lane less.
Yeah, and I'm just saying, explaining to you, it wasn't because they didn't want to move. It's, trust me, transit fields. If we can blame the employee first, you know, that's great with us. The second thing, my thing is, our community is aging. Has anybody done a study to find out how many senior citizens we have living in our community who will not be able to cross to the middle of the street in time to catch the bus?
That is.
Plus we have a home for the disabled. You know, we're having more. I have a son, as you know, who has autism. You have a group walking in the neighborhood. We also have an independent resident center here. How, again, in hell, do you expect these people, some who have, you know, ambulatory problems, to walk in the middle of the street to catch a bus? So if you're going to do a feasibility study, why don't you do a feasibility study about the population in our community?
And this is, that is a question that we brought up, and the safety issue of, because as you know, we had an issue of just the timing itself that you get to cross Woodhaven Boulevard.
Oh,
You know, so that's already out there. So, you know, those are questions that came up, and these are questions that we should continue to bring up, because we really haven't gotten any answers on those questions. And to us as a community, those are the important questions, you know, safety. You know, how safe is it, you know, for us to stand in the middle of the street to wait for a bus? You know, so.
I would just add to that there have been some general studies, not about this community. There have been general studies that say that as people retire and they age, they feel less comfortable taking public transportation because of the crowds, because of the youth, and they feel more comfortable driving in their own cars. So I would say, yes, that doesn't actually support SBS, it does support some of the things that have been forgotten in this whole thing, which are people who actually drive cars. And as Mark said, there are people who can't do anything but drive cars to where they work. They work in Long Island. They work in New Jersey. They work up in Westchester. They can't take public transportation without it taking multiple hours.
But we also have, like I said, but also realize there are senior citizens who don't or can't drive, and so they need public transportation, and to require them to walk into the middle of the street, as we said, you know, trying to listen, I'm a pretty fast walker. Trying to get across Woodhaven Boulevard is ridiculous. So to expect our senior citizens to do it,
Or someone pushing a cart with laundry, a parent pushing a child in a stroller, you know, someone walking the street with 2 children, you know, it's very difficult.
And another, I'm sorry, no, I was just gonna say, another thing you put up, that we need to know, I've noticed this, and I'm surprised there aren't more accidents. You have continuously cars crossing back and forth from the service lane to the express lane. Can you imagine now, you're trying to get in the middle of the street, and one car wants to get in the service lane, and they go this way, and then another car wants to get in the express lane, and they're going this way, and you're sitting in the middle, and you're flat on your ass in the street, because you just have it.
And that's, again, another good point. I mean, and we do, there are signs, but people ignore signs. So they have to look at all that. Mike?
I just want to reinforce one thing, you know, when we talk about problems crossing Woodhaven Boulevard, and the fact that we don't have enough time, we're just reinforcing their position to put better medians where they are for the buses so that people can go a little bit, they have a median to stand, and they continue across the street. So if we bring that up, that's just going to blow up.
Is there anything you can do about getting a longer time so that people can...
I tried that about 5 years ago, and they did agree with me, and they gave me 1.2 seconds to 1.2 seconds extra time.
Really?
Yeah, 1.2 seconds.
Hold on, folks, we have a question.
Speaking of wasting money, have you seen the new signs, the signs are installed every couple of blocks over the bus lane, further up along Woodhaven Boulevard that tells us the time that we're allowed to ride in the lane? Have you seen that? Oh, they're lovely.
Yeah.
Every couple of blocks, these massive structures with these signs hanging down saying, allowing us to ride in those lanes during the time when it doesn't really matter.
Oh, the lane, the bus lane, yes. Yeah, and the thing is, as we know, it was on the news that the buses now are going to have the cameras on them, so if you're in that lane and they snap the picture, that's like a $300 ticket. So, you know, I would say just stay out of that lane, you know, until 7 p.m. I mean, you know, and then you want to give yourself 7:30 just to be safe, you know, because...
If they have all this money to spend on the SBS, I don't know if they could give it to the MTA, but since I've been 14, I've been running up and down the station at Woodhaven Boulevard. I'm not the only senior citizen in the neighborhood. 2 flights of stairs, trying to run up the train. By the time I get there, people want to help me, I'm out of breath. If we could get an elevator there, they could spend money for that.
I'm sure these are different budgets, everything's allocated something different. I think we tried to add an elevator to PB one year. That didn't work out. You know, it's difficult when you have to deal with large amount of monies and then asking the city or state to pay for it and give it to the MTA for something specific, I guess. But we can try and bring it up again. Hopefully, maybe they can do and see what the ridership is. Does it call for an elevator? Again, with our seniors and anyone with special needs in the community, you know, how do you go up 2 flights of stairs to catch a train?
It would be interesting to know about how many seniors are in Woodhaven that could use it. And we have now the connection that we can get into Midtown Manhattan that we never had before. Well, now it's had maybe 5 years, whatever it is. And we could get to downtown Manhattan, Brooklyn.
Yeah, you know, and all these are options that come out from conversations with the community. You know, the same thing when MTA and DOT have, they had the open house a few years back. You know, they tell you, take your ideas, put it up on the board, and you know, we'll take them. And that's the best way to do it, you know, and coming to meetings like this and voicing our opinions. And as much as in the beginning we had so many people saying, we're gonna waste our time, nothing's gonna be done, by 2016, we're gonna see this fully implemented, $250 million gone. Here we are, 2016, and we're still fighting, money hasn't been spent yet, and now they're going back to the drawing board. And that's why we have to continue fighting until we really get what we want. Because at the end of the day, we have to live with it. So we have to make sure that we can get, everyone's not gonna be happy, it's not gonna be a perfect plan, but safety has to come first and somehow has to fit in with this community. Any other questions on that?
Signing up online, looking, going over this SBS for a while, isn't there any kind of, what do you call it, a demonstration? But isn't there any kind of a caucus that people can get together and go in masse?
We do.
You can let us know that.
Yeah, we have a plan. We have a plan internally on how to continue our fight for this. So we will do rallies. You know, we will call for the community to come out and meet us and say, hand out flyers, let drivers know on Woodhaven Boulevard what's going to happen. Because again, it's not going to just affect people from Woodhaven. You know, we're going out to Howard Beach, Lindenwood, Ozone Park. You know, I mean, we can go as far as to areas in Brooklyn because, like Vance mentioned, we have people that take Woodhaven Boulevard to come in to grab, to take the LIE, to go through other areas of Queens that they have to take that boulevard. So, again, all because the fantasy world of park your car and take a bus, that doesn't work for them. You know, and again, you know, change is needed on that boulevard because it's also bad that someone who lives in the Rockaways, it takes them 2 hours to get into the city. You know, that's not fair for them as well, but it has to work for everyone. Something that can work, study on that line, you know, maybe seeing if you can, Rockaway's been calling for another train line in the Rockaways, you know, there's money for that. You know, coming up with these ideas of a streetcar that's gonna cost like $1 billion in downtown Brooklyn to connect, you know, one hip area to another hip area, to me that's a waste of money. Give people who are really working, people who are trying to get into to the city to work, people who are trying to get back home, spend $1 billion on that. You know, not the streetcar that's going to take me from one part of Queens to one part of Brooklyn just so I can hang out. That's not what New York should be about. New York should be about the hardworking people who are trying to fight for their communities. So let's continue pushing out those great ideas. Again, you can fill out this petition online, share it with your neighbors. We have this, we will have some rallies and some get-togethers as the weather gets better, because I think we may get snow tomorrow, so hopefully not. But let's just continue this conversation on SBS and make sure that we're sharing our opinions and, you know, voicing our opinions to our elected officials they've been working hard. You know, they've been there since day one saying that this doesn't work for the people that we represent. You know, and there are some other elected officials and City Hall who are saying, no, but we want this, and that's great. Put it in your community. You know, try it out there and see what your people think. Then come back to us. So, moving on from SBS.
Anything else?
Yes, you're done. Thank you.